Is Russia headed towards civil war, or is the civil war already here? I'm Paul, U.S. Army combat veteran. It's June 24th, 2023. This is your daily Ukraine update and Russia update, apparently. Let's get into it. Of course, guys, if you were here for yesterday's live stream, you know that things are breaking fast in this conflict. And I'm going to be doing a live stream here in a couple of hours to catch us up. But let's get caught up to see where we are now. First off, let's take a look at the Ukraine control map. And one of the things I want to point out is that throughout this event, right, Ukraine has actually seen some progress. And I actually think this is most likely a function of Russian troops' morale being low, right? Who's going to want to counterattack when your country itself is having a unplanned leadership change? So I think that makes sense. A lot of people asked in the live stream, will Ukraine exploit this event to launch an attack and liberate their territory? The answer, as I've told people, is yes, but not in the immediate future, right? Because you have to think about the two directions this could go, right? There's a chance that this could be a low drama, quick coup in which there's minimal disruptions to the Russian war effort, in which case, basically the Russian military before and the Russian military after the coup will be roughly the same. So there's not really much of a reason to delay, to attack now. In contrast, this may become a very messy coup attempt, and it may severely disrupt the Russian military efforts. And if that's the case, then Ukraine is going to want to wait until those disruption efforts have really reached their apex. Likely, if you're going to see at some point, Russia's going to have to make some tough calls. The Kremlin, rather, is going to make some tough calls about whether they need their troops in Ukraine or they need those troops to defend Moscow and Russian territory. And once they start having to make those calls, then you're going to end up in a then you're going to really see Ukraine's effectiveness on the battlefield take off. It's the old art of war saying, never interrupt your enemy when they're making a mistake. And right now, the Russian government, or whoever's running Russia, is making some tremendous mistakes from a military perspective. So Ukraine likely taking advantage of localized opportunities where they apply. You can see some gains being made outside of Robdine. You can also see continued pressure being applied near Rivnopol. But in a larger sense, I think they are waiting and seeing just how disruptive these events are to the Ukrainian or the Russian military effort. Of course, I would be remiss to not acknowledge that there's a lot of videos coming out of combat within Russia as Wagner and Russian National Guard forces engage each other, but I can't show it on YouTube. Instead, what I do is once or in this case, twice a week, I drop members only videos on my site, combatvetnews.com. We actually just yesterday dropped some videos, or 2 days ago, of the uncensored trench clearing video from Ukrainian special forces. We're also seeing some Bradleys in action and a sniper with some very advanced thermal optics. I break all of it down on the site. And if you become a member, right, any one of these tiers will get you access. And it's the best way to support me, to keep me independent. A lot of sponsors don't like war content. Certainly Patreon and YouTube don't like me covering it. But I think this news is important. I think what I do is important. And I depend on you guys for your support to keep me able to do this. And so I thank all you guys that are members and encourage you, if you can, to become a member. combatvetnews.com. Okay. This I thought was one of the better updates, the live UA map, for a couple of reasons. First, you could see that they've covered a number of news stories, right? So let's break down what exactly has happened in the last 12 to 24 hours. Prigozhin, the head of the Wagner group, and remember, Wagner has withdrawn from the front lines and had been in camps in occupied Ukraine, but outside of Rostov-on-Don, right? In areas where they felt like there was a low probability of them being targeted by Ukrainian deep strike weapons. But Prigozhin released an audio statement that said, hey, I have actually been attacked. My camps have been attacked by the Russian Ministry of Defense. They've launched a missile strike. They've inflicted casualties. This is unacceptable. I do not recognize the Ministry of Defense. And he says their corruption is the reason this war has started. It's the reason so many Russians have been KIA in this war. And the reason that so much of the Russian military effort has been hampered has been corruption by the Ministry of Defense. He goes, I'm not going to accept it anymore. So he literally said, he was like, our Wagner group is going to be deposing the Russian Ministry of Defense. He directly called for armed rebellion. And he made good on it. He mobilized Wagner Group. They moved first to the city of Rostov-on-Don. You can see it here. And what you have, of course, some civil agencies, some limited numbers of Russian National Guard troops supposedly attempted to stop these efforts, attempted to stop Wagner. But really, in most cases, it sounds like they either met no resistance or the Russian rank and file actually defected to Wagner Group in Rostov. So they met minimal resistance. Ostensibly, many roads were closed, especially the M4 highway, which connects Rostov-on-Don to Moscow. But again, when we looked on the live stream, we saw that they were closed mostly as an administrative function. You'd have one police car and like a little police van closing the road, not enough to stop the Wagner Group, right, who has BMPs, BTRs, T-62s, a really robust. The only thing they don't have is air assets, but they do have anti-air capabilities. So they really, apparently, in the last 12 hours or so, have brushed aside resistance. And as you can see, there's reports now of them making their way to Moscow. You could see they've gone about, they've done about 8. We looked on Google Maps on the live stream. This is probably about 8 hours of driving. So they have another 4 or so before they end up in Moscow. The reports, again, you could see as of 3 hours ago, they were passing by Voronezh, but there were also helicopters and fighter jets deployed to the area. Russian media 2 hours ago announced internet restrictions in areas that are known to have a counterterrorism operation. And of course, I can't show you because YouTube, but a Russian MOD helicopter was supposedly shot down outside of Voronezh. So certainly Russia does not own the skies, even in its own country at this point. There's also rumors, of course, as of an hour ago, that the Wagner column moving towards Moscow has passed in the Lipetsk region, so the town of Yelets. And you can see they are, again, making steady progress. Really, again, military vehicles generally aren't quite as fast as civilian vehicles. They're meant to operate on rougher terrain, so you see them with, 25, 35 kilometers an hour. That's probably about what you can expect. So they're probably another 3 to 4 hours from Moscow, which conveniently, as they arrive, is when I'm going to be starting my live stream. But you can see there's reports of additional police cordons deployed in Moscow as of an hour ago. Another helicopter reportedly shot down in Voronezh as of 9 minutes ago. And of course, the internet service in Russia blocking Prigozhin's ability to put out audio messages. But 3 hours ago, right, they said no martial law in Moscow, which is a sign they're preparing for martial law in Moscow. If you know how to speak bureaucratese. Right. And there's also rumors that Russia has started to launch airstrikes against oil depots and other areas that appear to be occupied by Wagner, or in an effort to deny Wagner access to materials they need to pursue their efforts. There's a general belief that, though it's rumored that the Russian Ministry of Defense is attempting to get to Moscow, right, is going to attempt to mount a meaningful defense within Moscow itself. But it's not clear who is available to do that sort of thing. They would have to peel off forces, perhaps from Bryansk. But again, remember, mobilizing 25,000 forces is not like texting your mom to come pick you up, right? When you need your mom to come pick you up as a kid, right? She's got to get her keys. She's got to get shoes on. She's got to get in the car. Maybe she's got to stop and get gas, and then she's on her way, right? But when you have, think about it, if you have 10 people, right? Well, you got to get 2 cars. You got to get, more shoes on, more 2 sets of keys. Maybe one car doesn't have gas. Maybe one car, the tire's flat and you got to like refill it, right? So if you want to move 10 people, it's more complicated. Now scale that up to 25,000. You can't mobilize them in an hour. You can't mobilize them in 2 hours. You need a day, 2 days. I mean, for 25,000, you're talking about probably a week to a month to get them to move, even on a rapid deployment type situation. So Russia's going to have its work cut out for it as to finding a meaningful military formation that can come and execute a defense of Moscow. Again, and that assumes that these forces will be loyal and willing to fight Wagner Group on behalf of the MOD. And we've spent a large portion of this channel covering just how out of touch the Russian Ministry of Defense is. It's pretty preposterous. Again, it doesn't mean necessarily that they're any better or worse than Prigozhin, but in terms of the belief that the troops have, it sounds like the morale of the Russian fighting man has been incredibly low for a long time. Their belief in their leadership, incredibly poor for a long time. So anyway, I want to take one more look at things. This is from War Mapper. This is his map of the, as of 9 a.m., UTC, where they believe that the Wagner Group is. They believe to be in Rostov-on-Don. They have also occupied regions here, and it looks like they're currently confirmed to be in Voronezh and are likely, they're plotting that there's a Russian armed forces presence right here, expecting to meet them and attempt a defense outside of Moscow. Will this be sufficient? Again, you'll have to tune into the live stream this afternoon to find out. But this is absolutely bananas. And truly, you can also see, again, there's continued road closures in and around Moscow, likely part of a Russian military effort to stop this Wagner Group advance. Anyway, guys, that's all I had for you. Certainly an exciting and fast-breaking couple, really 24 hours that we're having. Again, there's going to be a live stream. You should absolutely tune in for it. Thanks, as always, to all the supporters of Combat Vet News, but especially our Colonel tier members. Thank you guys so much. And a huge thank you to our Lieutenant tier members. I really couldn't do this without you guys. I appreciate you so much. And I will catch all you guys in the next one.